Hello everyone, and welcome to the syllabus review video for BMBA510, Legal, Ethical, and Social Responsibilities of Business for Spring 2018. I am going to be the instructor for this class, and I'm also experimenting with using all of this technology here. So one of the things I'm going to do is try to make myself appear in the slide. So let's see what that looks like. All right, there I am. So thank you for joining this video, for watching this video, and for being in this class. And so what we're going to do is start off with a quick slide, and then we'll move into looking at the syllabus. All right, so in order to make this work, I have to make myself disappear. Then I have to move the next slide. Then I have to make myself appear here. There I am. Okay, it's working. That's good. All right. So the first thing we have to talk about is welcome. So I'm glad you're in the class, and I appreciate you watching this video as our syllabus introduction, given the crazy schedule that we have in the first week of class. All right, so I am hoping that this is very interesting and relevant to you, and if there's anything I can do to make it more interesting or more relevant to you, then by all means, let me know. All right, so the reason we're having a video just on the syllabus is that the syllabus controls everything going on with the class. It is all of the policy and all of the procedure necessary for this class. So it's important that you read it, review it, watch this video, and understand it, because all of the rules for our class will come from the syllabus. All right, so read it thoroughly. Make sure you've read it through. Don't just skip through it. I would actually spend the time to read it. It shouldn't take that long. It is 11 pages, but it shouldn't take you that long. Okay, so what we're going to do is walk through the syllabus together here in a minute. If you have any questions, you can post those to the forums. We'll look at those briefly in a few minutes so you can see where they are. The reason I really encourage the use of the forums is if you have a question, I would like to make sure that anybody else who has the same question can have it answered at the same time. So I'd like everyone to be able to benefit from everyone else's questions. Alrighty. Okay, with that, let's move on over to the next segment of this. So what I'm going to do again is make myself disappear. Then we're going to move to the segment of finding the syllabus. So to do that, we're going to go to the website, the school website. If you don't have a lot of experience with Sakai, I'll show you how to log in here, and I'll do another video on Sakai as well. But for now, what I'd like you to do is go to the PLU website, log into the ePass. Oh, I am on the wrong screen here. Okay, so log into Sakai, and in my case, sometimes I'm already logged in. So you'll go to your ePass and we'll see. All right, in my case it pre-populates it. In yours you may have to enter your username and password. And then we'll go to the Sakai course website. You'll notice this does seem to suggest it's just for section 1, but that's because this was created before they added section 2. So both sections will be using this same Sakai site. And so section 1 is Tuesday night and section 2 is Thursday night. All right, to find the syllabus, you go to the syllabus tab here on the left, and that will take you to the syllabus page. My internet's a little slow here. Now what you're going to see is just slightly different. I'm going to show that to you here, and that is that if I switch to the student role, you won't see all these little edit buttons. It'll look more like this. And this link right here is where you will find the syllabus. It's a PDF, and if there's any other changes to the syllabus, they'll be posted in that same spot, so you'll be able to see the differences. All right, so this is what our syllabus looks like. What I'm going to do for our purposes is zoom this in a little bit so we can get the full screen, and we'll go ahead and walk through this. So I try to put a table of contents here so you can find information quickly. It is a little bit long, I recognize that, but I do that on purpose, both because I want it to be complete and also because this is a law class and you should get used to reading legal documents. And while this isn't a legal document, I it at least in some ways works like one, so that you can get some feel for how a legal document might be structured. You'll notice the update. By the time you watch this will be different. There will probably be a few tweaks that I make right before I publish it, but this way you can always see what the most recent version is. Okay, on the first page are just some very basic information, just consolidated on one page. We'll talk about the course description in a few minutes, but you'll notice that it has 3 distinct sections to it. It has, first sentence says, a survey of legal topics essential to effective managerial decision making. All right, that's the first part of the class. The second part of the class is exploring the legal, ethical, and social implications of legal strategies and practices. And then the last one is this course also examines the sources and development of conflict and develops negotiation as a tool for managing conflict solutions. We're going to approach each one of these sentences, each one of these segments of the course description slightly differently. Okay, so again, I mentioned we have 2 sections. Section 1 is Tuesday night, Section 2 is Thursday night. Different classrooms, so please make sure you pay attention to the classroom. If you need to get a hold of me, email is great. Again, I'll mention it several times. I really encourage the use of the forums whenever possible, but for confidential information or for something that just isn't right for the forums, you can always email me. I'm pretty good about that. I don't check my phone when I'm not on campus, so while you're free to call, it might take me a few days to get back to you if if I'm not in my office. You can see me anytime, Tuesdays and Thursdays in the mornings, although I know most of you are working. So if you do need to come to office hours at a different time than this, just let me know and we'll set a time. So we have 2 textbooks. The first one, Business Law, has to do with the first segment of class, this first sentence up here, the survey of legal topics. The second textbook is Getting to Yes, which is we're going to use for this third sentence, having to do with conflict negotiation and managing conflict. The second segment will be just using resources from the internet and other things like that. So you should be able to buy these 2 books for less than $20. And both of them, in particular Getting to Yes, you should be able even to get at a library. So if you really want to save money, you can do so that way. This just says that supplementary readings will be on Sakai, which I already mentioned, and Sakai is going to be sort of the store of information for the class. Everything will run in Sakai. You'll take your tests on there. All of the supplemental information will be on there. So really make sure you're familiar with it. The syllabus will change over the semester in all likelihood. It always does in some way or another. And I will post changes to that syllabus tab that I showed you at the beginning. And again, you are responsible for what's in here, so make sure you read it. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the next few pages. This is just information that is required to be given to you and that you should have access to. Registrar dates, the mission statements, and the course rationale and objectives. I will let you read those on your own time. They are important, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to pass them up. All right, so how do you prepare for class? There's 2 things you need to do to prepare for class. You need to read whatever's assigned, and that includes the material on Sakai. So we have the 2 textbooks. You'll be reading a few chapters from the business law textbook for the first segment of class. You'll be reading 1 chapter a week for Getting to Yes, and then probably a few articles and that sort of thing for the second segment. It's also a good idea to keep up on current events. So I've put a few pages here that you can look at if you have an interest. What I've decided to do for time-wise is each night we're going to have a common format. So we'll spend the first hour and 10 minutes on segment A, which is the legal survey. We'll spend the second 65 minutes on segment B, which is the strategies, and then we'll spend the last 65 minutes on the negotiation and conflict resolution segment. So we'll stick with this same format every time so you can rely on it for your breaks, and we'll start on time and we'll usually end on time every class. Okay, so now this is the course long schedule. So you can see here it's a busy document, but it shows you everything that we'll be doing for the whole class. So by week, you can see what we're going to be covering. So this week, which is online, you'll have your course introduction and syllabus review, which is what you're doing right now. And then you'll have an introduction to each of the 3 segments. So you'll want to make sure you cover those during this week. There are some assignments that are required in those lessons. And so see the Sakai video for information about how the lessons tools work. And then each week you can see roughly what we're planning on covering. And you'll notice that there are 4 tests. There's one after week 4. We don't have classes for spring break. And for those of you going to Peru, I'll be going on that trip, so we'll be out of the country there. There's a second test after week 8, a third test after week 11, and then the last test after the last week, and there won't be a final. It's just test number 4. And each one covers just the material for that segment, not cumulative. You'll notice over here on segment C that there'll be team negotiations, 3 classes of that towards the end, and then you will do an individual report on the outcome of your negotiation, and then you'll do a presentation in the last week of class, last day of class. I will make updates to this if there are changes, but this is our tentative schedule for the semester. Okay, moving on to page 6 is the grades, how we're going to grade. All right, so attendance is 5%, and notice you must be signed in and in attendance to get attendance credit. It's not enough to just be there, you have to sign in as well. You can earn some extra credit by attending some additional outside of class lectures. 2 of these we'll be going to as a class, the February 28th and April 17th. And whichever, I forget which those are on Tuesday or Thursday, but whichever one they overlap, we'll go to as in person, and the other one we'll watch it on video. There's a few others, and you can go to other campus events if you want to get some extra attendance credit. The extra credit you can earn up to 3 of those can make up for up to 3 absences, or if you make it to all the classes, then you can get those as extra credit. Okay, so participation, which is 5% of your grade, requires active class discussion. It's not enough to come to class, take notes, pay attention. Those are all important things to do, but you have to participate in the discussion in order to get participation credit. And I will be calling on people by name, so you need to be prepared to be called on and to discuss the discussion questions for that week, all of which are posted on Sakai. All right, there will be some assignments each week. They will alternate between the 3 segments, and those will be worth 20% of your grade in total, cumulatively. Your team negotiation report, which I just mentioned, is 20%, and your presentation is 10%, and then the tests are 40%, 10% each. And please notice here this highlighted section. I will do my very best for the test to reflect the material we covered in class, but you are responsible for all of the assigned material. And if there may be a test question that relates to reading material that we did not have time to get to in class, that is possible. Although I will do my best to write the questions to be as related to the class material as possible. Okay, so grade scale, you can see that here. You can see the rounding policy. I get some questions about that from time to time, so you can read that on your own. Please note that the due dates on Sakai are the due dates that count. So if we make a change, sometimes I may not get to the syllabus, but in any case, the syllabus doesn't always have every due date on it. It's Sakai where the due dates matter. And a note here as well, the Sakai gradebook is not always completely accurate, and it's not because of a problem with Sakai, but it's just that Sakai can't perform some calculations or it does them in one way, whereas the syllabus requires them another. So the Sakai gradebook is not definitive. It's the syllabus calculation that's definitive. All right, how do we communicate? I mentioned already a little bit about this. You can always email me, but really try to use the forums for any of these topics. If you have administrative questions or substantive questions or test question challenges, really want those posted to the forums so that everyone has a chance to see them. But you can always, of course, email me. I may say on occasion, if you email me something that I think should be on the forum, I'll tell you to post it on the forum. And that's just, again, not to be difficult, but to make it available to everybody else. And I cannot use text messages, so don't text me for class communications. All right, and the rest of it is general class policies. I will let you read these on your own. There are a few that I would like to highlight. Number one, there are no late assignments in this class. So if you miss a test or an assignment due date, you will get 0 credit for that, and there's no makeups and no late assignments. The only exception to that is if you are a student registered with the Disability Support Services Office. They are the only ones who can grant accommodation exceptions. And that is it. That takes us through the end, and you can read these policies on your own. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, if I can do this correctly, is hop back over to the screen over here. And here we are. It worked. All right. Pretty happy with this so far. All right, so I have a few key takeaways. Number one, read the syllabus. Read it. It sounds funny, but the number of times I get questions that are answered directly in the syllabus, please read the syllabus. You're responsible for it, so please read it. Always check Sakai. Read all the announcements. I will send regular announcements, and I expect that everybody's reading those. I sometimes send them by email for technical reasons, but I try to do everything as an announcement, and monitor the forums because of the information, and my answers will be posted there to common questions. All right, so make sure that you are managing your deadlines. If you plan to start the test 2 hours before it's due, and your computer breaks, or you lose the internet, or you have to stay late at work that day and you had planned to do it right up before the deadline, if that's your plan, then you are planning to fail. Give yourself some buffer time in case there's a problem, because the deadline is the deadline, and I'm pretty strict about that in my classes. Okay, so again, late work is not accepted. So unless you have a DSS accommodation, I cannot give extra time or partial credit for it being late or anything. So give yourself enough time, check to make sure it got uploaded. That's your responsibility. And class participation is a requirement. I want to make sure that everybody knows that they are required to participate in the class discussions, and I will be calling on people by name, so you'll have ample opportunity to do that. Okay, and then very end is, don't be afraid to ask a question. Now, I get this a lot. Oh, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering us. That's what we're here for. So if you have a question, please make sure that you ask it. That's what we're here to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is switch myself back off, then go. I'm still learning all these buttons and everything. So that's the end of our presentation. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I am looking forward to seeing you in class. And don't forget to take the syllabus quiz when you're all done. All right, we'll see you in class. Take care.